Hi, welcome to the first official day of the 7-day challenge for Catholic wives to love their husbands. Are you excited? I am. I hope you are too. Okay, so welcome to the video. Obviously, you found the email. You're watching the video. Good job. You have 2 PDFs that you hopefully have downloaded, maybe printed. You should have the, let's see if you can see it, Day 1, I love this guy, let me count the ways, worksheet. And the one that we're going to start with is actually not a worksheet, it's actually just notes. Day 1, gift of self and responsibility notes, and that's what we are going to talk about today. Okay? So here we go. This is the only one that we're really going to talk about some terms. So, we're Catholic. I hope that you appreciate how awesome that is. We have a beautiful tradition when it comes to almost every aspect of our lives, and thanks to JP2 and a couple of others, we have beautiful doctrine that will help us really understand what true love and what marriage is. So that's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about 2 concepts that lay the absolute groundwork for everything that we're doing here and offer an explanation for why we are doing it. Those 2 terms, they're on the sheet that you just printed. The 2 terms are gift of self and the other one is responsibility. Now, these concepts both come from JP2. Anyone else a big JP2 fan? Yeah? If you're not, you should be. Anyway, so gift of self and responsibility. These things lay the foundation for what it means to be married and what it means to actually love your husband. Okay, so let's go through this. You can look at the notes as I go through it. So, first of all, as Catholics, we understand that love is not something that happens inside of me, and love is also not something that is just about getting. It's not about getting or having or feeling. Love is about giving. True love is something, we do. We feel it inside of ourselves. We feel an affection and attraction to someone else, but in order for it to be love, it needs to motivate us to generosity. Motivate us to give, to do for someone else. So that's what love is. Love is something, a feeling inside of myself that moves me to action and to the donation of myself to someone else. So also in love, true love requires that we know and love someone completely, right? That they have put their walls down and allowed us to see them, their past, their present, their future, their imperfections, their strengths, everything. That we can see it all. And in return, we have given all of ourselves to them too. We have opened up, been completely vulnerable, shared things that we maybe didn't want to share, allowed them to see our entire self. And it's 2 people completely naked. I mean, not naked in the naked sense, but completely revealed, and we still see each other, accept each other, and love each other. So that's what gift of self means. I'm completely opening myself up to this one person, because it's not good to be totally vulnerable with everybody, but I trust this one person, I respect them, I trust them, I'm going to show them all of what I am. I know they'll do the same to me, and that's the total gift of self. Also with gift of self, GP2 talks about how true love motivates us to want to seek the good of the other, even if it is at the expense of good for ourselves. That we really do put them and their needs above our own. Okay? So that's gift of self. Now, like super intertwined with this idea of gift of self is the idea of responsibility. And the idea of responsibility answers that question that I bet is in the back of your mind. The question that Eve asked in the garden, the question that we all struggle with because of original sin, and that question is, well, what about me? If I have to give myself, lay all of my wants down in favor of him, what? Am I just supposed to be like a doormat or something? I get it. I feel the same thing. That's why gift of self doesn't make any sense without the concept of responsibility. True love means that I feel a responsibility towards the other person and that our love is mutual, that they also feel that responsibility towards me. So, gift of self only makes sense if I am standing here giving myself entirely to someone and he is standing here giving himself entirely to me. That is the only way that gift of love makes sense, is if it is mutual. It's a circle. That's the only way. In fact, I recently heard a priest talk about this. He was saying, we were talking about, in the letter, one of the letters of Paul, he talks about how, wives should be subject to their husbands. But in the verse previous to that, he says husbands need to be, love your wives like Christ loved the church. And how did Christ love the church? He allowed himself to be crucified. He gave everything. I mean, that is the ultimate image of the gift of self, is the cross. So the priest made the point that, yes, women, subjugate yourselves to your husband, give yourself to them, give them your will in response to what he does first. He gives his entire self to you, just as Christ gave his entire self to the church, and in return, you give your whole self to him. So that's the idea, right? Responsibility. Two people, mutual love, looking at each other. Now, this is the ideal. I get it. I mean, it's hard to be selfless. It's hard to even approach selflessness if you're me. But this is the ideal. Of course, all of this requires surrender. And in a big way, the gift of self requires the surrender to say, like, I can't do everything for myself. I'm going to allow him to take care of me. A bit of pride. And the first thing, and this is the last line on the notes that I want you to really think about. The first step in making a full gift of self and being him and allowing him to make a full gift of self to you, the first step in that is to know what your needs are and to know what his needs are. So think about that. But for today, I want you to do this homework, which was the second sheet that you downloaded and printed. Day 1, I love my husband. Let me count the ways. Now on this sheet, we are just going to really dig into positivity. I want you to think of, first box says, why I fell in love with him. Write down all the wonderful things about your husband that you found out in those early days. Just those beautiful, beautiful memories. Spend some time with this. Let it really dredge up those beautiful memories. The second box, why I continue to fall in love with him. Maybe it has to do with children and jobs and things that have happened recently or continued to happen since you got married. But just think, why did I fall in love with him? What are the traits that attracted me to him at the beginning? Why do I continue to love him? I bet he's a terrific guy and I want to hear all about it. So write these things down, really think and pray about it, and just really love on your husband. Now, what we talked about today in terms of gift of self and responsibility is going to lay the groundwork for everything else we do. So I'll see you tomorrow in day 2 where we are going to talk about prayer. See you then.